is luck is for leprechauns.
Leprechauns. I love that. When you text me that you wanted, that was one of the topic names, I'm like, you know what? That's the one. What made you want to? What brought that name about for you?
I hate people telling me you're so lucky. Like, it's a pet peeve of mine. Like, first of all, I don't believe in luck. I believe in being blessed.
Right.
Second of all, I believe we are the creators of our luck. You know, co-creators.
Yeah, I love that.
So I'm like, I don't believe in luck.
Yeah.
Luck is for leprechauns.
I know. I read that. I was like, oh my god, that's so good. So this whole week, honestly, I've been having things that align with that, and that's why I'm like, yeah, that's the one. For starters, right now I'm listening to The Universe Has Your Back. Yeah. I've had that book on my list for years. I'm finally like, you know what? Let me listen to it. You know, because truth be told, I've been making a reading list and haven't had a chance to read.
Since when have you had that?
Girl, I don't know.
I want to say the first time I ever heard of it was at our first vision board party, and Erica recommended it.
I mean, it could have been it. I honestly don't remember. I just know I've been hearing about the book for years and I never picked it up. I really don't remember where I heard it, but I know it had to be an event like that, you know, so it could have been from her. But something that really stuck out for me was, are you opening yourself up to allow the energy to flow through you? So meaning, you know, we hear this all the time, like you have to be ready to receive, you have to be willing to receive. But it was just the way that she broke it down in the book that it made so much sense. And it's something like what we talked about on the last podcast we recorded, about, I don't want to say feeling worthy of it, but feeling like there's sometimes some kind of block that we have where we run back to our comfort zone and we're like, no, this is where I belong. You know, I guess hand in hand with imposter syndrome. But what the note that I have is like when, or the example she gave is whenever one of her, I think graphic designers or somebody was doing work for her, and she would tell her like, hey, make sure you send me the bill. And the girl's like, yeah, I'll do it later. But she never actually sent it. So she's like, so she wasn't getting paid. Yeah. So it's kind of like by her not sending the bill, you're telling the universe, I don't want to get paid. Right. So the people who are wanting to pay you, of course, are not paying you because you're not billing them. Right. Number one. Number two is like those that are wishy-washy about paying you are kind of in the back burner. You're not getting money either way. So it's just, you know, it just
makes so much sense.
Yes.
I mean, when I was doing one-on-one coaching, you know, I started as a trial kind of thing. Like I did I was doing it for free, but people literally did want to pay me, and I just didn't feel. Yeah, I blocked my blessings.
And do you remember me telling you just charge them? Like you remember me telling you're like, no, I want to practice first, and I'm like, okay, you know, we're Tauruses, we're stubborn, we're gonna do it our own way. So I just left it alone. But I do remember that. I remember that you're like, I'm just gonna do this and that because I feel like I need to practice. I'm like, no, you can start charging a little bit. But yeah, but I'm right there with you too, because like whenever she said that, it kind of took me back to the whole gratitude thing. That there was a point where I was like, every time I got a lead, I was celebrating. I'm like, oh my God, thank God, I got a lead. And then I got so burnt out that I got to the point where when people would call my phone, I'm like, oh my God, who's calling me now? Yeah. Like, oh my God, like, can I just get a break? You know, and then I had breaks, and then I'm like, oh shit, like I don't have any clients, like what's happening? And there I am scrambling again. So it's like an up and down pattern, right? So I heard that and I was like, oh my God, I've been blocking my own flow, which I knew because I know this stuff. I just didn't figure out how, or it's a different way.
I think sometimes like also for me, speaking for myself, like sometimes some of these things come as a gift, and I feel like as a gift it's my duty to gift it. Yeah. But all the great people say like you started doing it for free, but eventually that does, you know, that's your purpose. Yes. So it's like you were showing me how to work the gimbal and stuff, you know, like for you it might be nothing, or maybe not for you, but somebody with more knowledge, it might not be nothing, but they could literally make a living off of that.
For sure. No, and I'm so glad you said that, because I was just having this conversation with another friend of mine. She's in real estate as well, and she has an investor that's blowing her up, asking her to help his realtor friends or whatever. But really the way it is in this industry, he's going to use that girl to list his stuff for cheaper, but yet he wants my friend to train her. So I said, that's fine. You need to tell him. Just like he has the guts to tell you, hey, let me take you to a fancy dinner, train her, you need to have the guts to tell him, okay, it's 10%. Because at the end of the day, that's your knowledge. You know, people like us, we invest in ourselves. We pay for coaching. I pay for classes. I take classes. It's my time. So my knowledge is worth some money. You know what I mean? And if it's going to benefit you, I know it sounds ugly, but if it's going to benefit you in some way, you're trying to use me, then you need to pay me. You know what I mean? So, and it's different because I have agents that call me too, and I don't gatekeep. I help them every single way that I can. But you have to be you have to be helping yourself. If I see that you're not helping yourself, then I'm not going to help you either, because it doesn't matter what I tell you, it's not going to work because you're not doing the work.
And also I think a mutual, we feed off of each other kind of thing versus, you know, some people just take. And like you said, you have a big heart. I've seen you left and right, give, and then people want to gatekeep from you, from the person they learned from, and I'm like, the audacity, you know?
Wait, did I tell you about that?
No.
That happened to me recently?
No.
Shut up, I didn't tell you. I was just dealing with that a few, within the past 2-3 weeks, that actually the girl that, I don't even want to say it, because if I say it, I'm going to identify the person. But anyway, I had asked for help in a certain area of my real estate business that I'm not good at, and the person I asked about it, she's asked me questions about the business, and I've answered it 100%. And then she helped me a little bit, but not to the full potential that she could have. So then I went to somebody else, and they showed it all to me, and it just kind of more than anything, it hurt my feelings, because I'm like, I get it that you want to gatekeep from other people for whatever reason, but to gatekeep from somebody who helped you and didn't gatekeep from you, that's some shady stuff. So lesson learned. You know, it's I'm returning the energy all 2023. And I know it shouldn't be that way. I'm trying, it's a balance, you know, you can't be ugly, but then at the same time, you have to set your boundaries.
I definitely do believe it's a balance. I don't believe with returning the energy, even though, like you said, we want to. Yeah. But it's why should I downgrade myself over such an ugly human being?
Exactly.
You know? But it is a balance, boundaries.
Exactly.
Established.
So I'm working on balancing it. Because at the end of the day, I say I'm returning the energy, but I don't. Because I don't have the energy or the heart to, because it's just draining.
Right.
To be purposely ugly to people, or I don't want to tell you anything, I want to hide everything. Keep it for myself. It's too much
what
energy.
we talked about last time. Sometimes we're an open book. Yeah. And then around the wrong people sometimes, and we feel bad. But you told me something, you're you shouldn't feel bad for being your authentic self.
At all,
if anything, they should be bad. But, I do believe everybody gets their karma, and whatever situation people are in, whether they want to accept it or not, they put themselves in that situations. You know, because you can find people that are always in drama, and they blame everybody else. Girl. And I'm like...
And it's always the ones that don't like drama.
Wait a minute, though. I'm it's always the ones that are running from drama and don't want drama. And I'm that's funny, because all these places that you go that you're trying to avoid people, I'm I go and I don't have any problems. I'm I don't know.
No, I agree. So it's like this says, it's wherever, pretty much where your energy, what is it? Where your focus goes, energy flows.
Right.
So if you're always oh, I don't want any drama, that's what you're going to attract, because that's all you're thinking about 24/7. Or you think you're avoiding drama, but really you're inserting yourself in it because you're looking for it. Who's coming for me? Who's coming for me? And it's girl, who cares?
Nobody ain't even worried about you. That's the real thing.
Somebody's they're that's kind of self-centered when you think somebody's coming for you, because it's nobody cares about you that much. Nobody cares about you more than you.
And I think it's funny because I've actually, it goes back to when people block you. I recently actually had that happen as well. When people block you or delete you off Facebook, and ni te das cuenta, and later you're scrolling, and you're people that you may know, and you're oh, since when are we not friends? And it's kind of like that, you should be so involved in your own life that you're not worried about who's hating on you.
Exactly. Or who's liking, who's not, who's commenting, who's not. It's I don't care, because at the end of the day, it's like in this business, I've learned that the closest people to you are the ones that are gonna turn on you.
That's true.
You know, it's always new people coming into your life, or the people you least expect it from, that actually show up and show out for you.
I don't know if we mentioned that on the last podcast, but I did see like a quote that said, a client will become a friend faster than a friend will become a client.
100%, yeah.
So it's like
100%, and I've learned that I had heartbreaks because I'm like, I thought we were friends, and you bought a house or sold your house to somebody else. I got you, but then they have the audacity to call and ask me questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, don't call me. Like,
it's like you did what you did.
Yeah.
You chose who you chose.
Exactly. Yeah. Call them. Let them help you. You know what I mean? But anyway, let me stop being ugly. So with that, so I have my little notes here. It said that, you know, when you tell people you're in a building and you don't, you're blocking that. You're telling the universe, I don't want to get paid. I don't want to get money. But that also, I was continue listening to a book, and it connected it to like relationships, where it's like, you know, oh, I don't need men, I don't want a man, I don't want this and that. Well, of course you're not going to get it, because you're putting that out there that you don't want it, you don't need it, you know, versus once you start focusing, it's like, you know, or you're open to it, then you receive it. And I know that happened for me.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we had the same coach, and it was like, she talked to us so much about unblocking. Yeah. And recently here this week, I don't know what it is. We all know, women, we go through our cycle and stuff, and I'm just like, not even mad, but I'm just like, I just want to be by myself for no reason. Yeah. Irritated for no reason. And I'm like, I know I'm blocked somewhere. I'm not open, you know?
Something's triggering you, yeah.
And that's just what it is.
But. Well, that's what happened to me last week, remember? And we had a whole meltdown, and, you know, we talked through it. But that's pretty much how I was feeling. And then I kind of brought it back to me. I think it was a podcast you sent me with the Sarah Jakes, that she said, like, it's hard for us to receive and accept that love, because somewhere in us we feel like we're not good enough to receive it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's something, and I worked with it. I'm like, okay, do I really feel like what's the issue? Because obviously he ain't it, because he's just ignoring me while I'm on here.
Right, throwing a tantrum, and then they're like, I love you.
And you're like, no, you don't. And he's like, no, literally, I do.
Right? Like, I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, today's series, we had our pastors sit up and do the last series of Love is Blind together. Okay. And you know, there's foundations to a strong relationship, and they build like a pyramid on like what people use as foundation versus what the Bible says your foundation should be versus what society does as foundation. For example, you know, a lot of people look at the exterior first. And then, ooh, he's fine, or ooh, she's fine, ooh, she got a big booty, ooh, whatever, you know? And then it's like, okay, that's good, but if that's your foundation, like mutual attraction, like, what is it based off? Because the day that you don't look the part or whatever, then what? Right. You know? And then they also talked about just different parts, like what is your foundation and how are you going to build this foundation? Because if mostly society builds it upside down, so it's not stable, and then it falls apart. And I think like I had posted this not too long ago on Facebook, but I'm like, girl, when he's the right one, you ain't got to tell us he's the right one.
Facts.
Like, when he's the right one,
facts.
por más que lo quieras esconder, the more you try, like, even if you try to hide it, people will tell you he's the one, you know? Well, and you don't even have to put it out there. You don't even, people will just be like, see a certain glow in you that he brings out, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And isn't that what she said? Like, or I read it somewhere where they said, you know, your soulmate, the right person, is going to bring out those better qualities out of you than
she did say it. Yeah. And it's funny because I just told my dad this, you know, we were raised so different compared to what we want to become, and that's not to dig at my parents or whatever, you know. You say this a lot. You said you didn't do better because you didn't know better. Right. And I do believe they didn't know better. And I do believe also time we can't keep living with the same ways when time is different, you know. And we're also trying to do better by generation, you know.
Right.
My dad's a better father than my grandfather was. So it's just my job to elevate what I was taught and like teach it to my son.
Right.
You know. So I told him, I said, you know, because just the way I was raised is like, you got a reaction out of, you know, your parents and I told him, Tony and Isaac, they literally melt me. Like the strong woman that I am, they melt me not by giving me a reaction, but by responding in the most loving way that there's no way that my heart cannot change towards them. Like, and it's crazy because I'm like, they're the two closest men to me, you know, and one of them is my son. Like, how does he know this? You know, I believe that God uses him like in such a way, because I'm like, I always tell him, me da cachetada con guante blanco, because I'll like get mad at him, and I remember me, I would be like,
oh my God,
and Isaac's like, okay, mom, okay, and not like in a conniving, deceiving, or take off way, condescending to where he's gonna later act with an attitude. No, like, he literally acts like I didn't just get onto him. And now I'm sitting here feeling like, guilty. You know? But it makes me like, they have melted me in such a way where I don't even like need to scream or to make a point, you know? But it's back to that Sarah Jakes Roberts, like they bring out the best in you through love and through respect, which is not something we were really taught up to.
No, and you know what? But I think it's I was what was it? Oh my gosh, I don't know if it was an Instagram post or something, but I followed, like, I think she's called like the holistic psychologist or something, but she's always posting really good stuff, and she talks about how when you're growing up, when you're in survival mode, that's what you get is reactions, right? So then you react that way, and it's a cycle. But if you've been working on yourself and you've been kind of working with Isaac, let's say 20% of the time you do pop off and you go off on him, but I'm sure the rest of the time you talk to him with respect and love. So he's just kind of giving back what he was raised in, and I'm sure you created, and I know you did because of the conversations we've had, a safe environment for him to come back and talk to you, versus growing up, like you said, not trying to talk bad about my parents, but if I was to try to come and approach them with like, hey, you hurt my feelings, get over it, I'm the dad, you're the daughter, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you have pretty much no say as a kid. What I'm sure that you opened up those doors was like, no, talk to me, and I'm gonna receive it, and I'm gonna, you know, like, analyze it maybe after you popped off, but
no, for sure.
And it talks about that, like, you show your kids to communicate that way whenever you take accountability for your own actions. For example, let's say that you did pop off on him, and then you go back and like, you know what, Isaac, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have talked to you that way, you know.
And like, him as well, like, this week it was just crazy to me. Like, I honestly feel honored to be his mom, and I know, like, we fight like cats and dogs, but we love each other equally. And this week on Thursday when the storm happened, I had gone to my mom's, and then we went home after the storm, and I wanted to cuddle with him, and he was like, no. And at first it was like a joke, and I was like, come cuddle, and then I got like sentimental, and I was like, okay, and I went to my room, and not too long later he texted me, and it was just like such a big person to do, like a big character thing to do, and he's like, hey mom, he's like, I'm not feeling like myself, I just need my space, I'm sorry, I love you, it's not you, it's me.
No, nothing.
And I was not you. And I was just like, man, for a teen to tell you that, like, I'm like, I don't know. I always give the glory to God, but I do want to, you know, own that a little bit. I'm like, I must be doing something right.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I was gonna say. It goes back to you creating that space for him and letting him express himself to you and tell you how he feels, and, you know, like, and him knowing that by him being open and honest, you're not gonna react in a negative way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that's why he's.
I just want to tie that a little bit back up to our topic. Look, as for Leprechauns, because that wasn't luck. I didn't get lucky to have this. Like, I have, like you said, I have worked on myself. We have worked on ourselves. Like, it's not always been easy. Like, there's been a lot of tears, blood, sweat, whatever. Time taken out of having fun and partying, or what people, you know, I mean, we consider that having fun at a time, you know, but
and still sometimes
prioritizing and knowing like that sometimes is what I tell Isaac. Sometimes life isn't always about having fun, you know.
Right.
You could enjoy whatever season you're in, but there's gonna be a time. My grandma used to say, "There's a time for everything."
Yeah, time and a place for everything.
So, if you want luck, like, you have to create this.
For sure. Yeah, no, I agree. Also, so with the relationship thing, and then what was the other one? The every area of life. Oh, the other thing was kind of like being grateful. It always goes back to gratitude, right? But I was also able to find like a Bible verse, and me and Ivan had just had this conversation because I threw a fit over his truck being dirty. I'm like, bro, I was like, you better take care of this truck because we're not getting a car for a while. I'm like, and you know, God, I was always raised that God doesn't bless you unless you take care of what you have and what you're grateful for. So then I found and I kind of tie that to the whole, you know, my clients, me not being grateful for my clients, or being annoyed, like, oh, there's my phone again. You know, there was a period where I did feel that way because I was burnt out. I was so busy and I just wanted a break. And I'm like, damn, here they go, calling me again. And not any particular time, but I'm just saying, like, in general, if I would get a call and my phone would ring, it could be anybody, and I'm like, oh my God, like this phone, you know? So I guess I should reward that. I don't want my clients to think I don't like God. It was just my phone. But anyway, so it said, take care and be grateful for what you have. So I actually screenshot the verse, and my phone's, we're using it to record. But it was Luke 16:10, and it kind of says, he who has, let's open it because I don't want to butcher it. But pretty much that was the gist of it. Take care and be grateful for what you have, and you know, you'll get blessed with more.
And my dad always said, like, and I think of this sometimes when I'm being like frugal with my money or whatever. Yeah. He's like, what you do with $1, you'll do with 100. And they say this at church too, right?
Like tithing and stuff.
Yeah. But Luke 6:10 says he looked around. You said 6:10?
16:10.
Oh, 16:10. Sorry. 16:10. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little is always dishonest with much.
Yep, that's the one. But the reason I brought that up is because I actually, ever since I started listening to that book, I've been working on showing more gratitude and, you know, being more open. So this morning at church, you know, I was praying over my business and stuff, and then I was prepping to come, you know, to do the podcast. So I started making my notes, and, you know, we're talking about, you know, we're not lucky, we're blessed, blah, blah, blah. So literally on my drive here, my phone rings, and I was like, oh, should I answer it? Should I not answer it? It was not a number that I recognized. So I was like, okay, let me answer it, because this is what you've been praying for, right? So I answered, and it was a potential client that found my business card at a restaurant. I had left it at, and he's like, well, I have 2 houses. I know for sure I'm gonna sell one. Can you help me? I was like, sure. Then he asked me about commissions, and usually with the commissions, sometimes they try to like haggle with you, but he did not hesitate. And I was just like, oh my God. It was just like mind blowing that this is the topic. I'm driving here to the office so that we can record the podcast, and boom, I have a client, you know, a potential client who's coming in tomorrow morning. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's because I've been opening myself, talking about it, and focusing more on being grateful and being open than I have on what I don't have and what I want to do and what I'm trying to work for, you know? So I just do the work.
I think I've like could relate a lot with that too, because, you know, being a full-time mom and in a relationship and stuff, it gets overwhelming, and sometimes
it's a lot.
I'm like I miss me time, you know? Like, and I still get it from time to time, but it's not the same. Like, it's never gonna be the same, you know? And but yet, whenever I had it, yes, I did love it, you know, but I also craved for this, you know? I also prayed for this. And now that I have it, I'm like, you need to be grateful. Like, you literally have abundance of what you ask for.
True.
You know? And I actually had a talk with one of my cousin-in-law, because she's a pastor, and I was like, man, God spoke to me this week, because, you know, Isaac's a handful. Like, people are like, you only have one. I'm like, because he's a handful. You know, I didn't need more than one. You know, and I sometimes feel like an Uber, because he needs to get places and he's not driving yet. And I'm like, then we get home and sometimes he doesn't help me, and I'm like sitting here frustrated, and I'm like, man, why do I have to keep telling this kid da da da? And then just God spoke to me, and he was like, why do you always need him to help you, or why do you always when's the last time you asked him, what can I do for you? How can I serve you better? And I was just like, whiplash, you know? And I was like, you know what?
You're like, God, that is not what I want to
God's
hear.
been coming to me, and God's been talking to me, and just being literally in gratitude for the season you're in. And that's also another thing that would like God doesn't talk to you if you're not talking to him first. Like, he'll try, but you gotta be ready to listen. You know, exactly. I was talking to my mom's pool guy this week, and he's like, I just kept saying, God is talking to me, and he's like, there's not a lot of people I've heard that say God talked to them, like you, like God's talking to you. And I said, God does talk to them. I said, but sometimes we don't want to listen. And don't get me wrong, because I'll go back and forth with God thinking I have some sense, right? But back to what you were saying is like, Pastor, she was talking today about how gratitude, she's like, gratitude opens the door of being filled by the Spirit. Like, once you start gratitude, like, you literally let the Holy Spirit come into you. Right. And once the Holy Spirit's in you, you start walking in your purpose. And it's like a ripple effect. And she's like, well, like any mom, right? Like, she's tired. She's like, I'm tired, you know? But she practices gratitude with her kids. So every time she's in the car, she doesn't let the enemy come in with the overwhelmment of not being happy. So you have to use something that counteracts that. And it's gratitude, right? So she's like, she'll ask her kids what they're grateful for. But she said, be thankful in the season that you are in. The enemy always wants to make it seem like the grass is greener on the other side. And then Pastor Robert was like, the grass is always greener because it's turf, you know? Like, because it's on social media. And it's fake, it's not real. Like, the grass is greener wherever you want to water it. Exactly.
No, I agree, and it goes back to like focusing on yourself and you taking action. And I don't know if I talked about it last time, but I know I did a TikTok on it where it's like you like God's gonna give it to you, but you have to work. You have to put in your own effort. You can't just sit there and be like, oh well. My pet peeve, si Dios quiere. Oh my God.
My dad always used to be like, Dios sí quiere, pero tú no quieres.
Okay, Dios sí quiere, but you're not doing anything. So I like that is a pet. Whenever I say like, yeah, we're gonna be here at this time. No, si Dios quiere. No, bro, that's what we're gonna do. You know, like obviously, if He allows us to make it to that day, then yeah. But I'm not gonna sit there, si Dios quiere. Like no.
Right.
Almost
and I just want to say,
irritates me so bad.
We're not sitting here saying this to you. We're always saying it to ourselves as well, you know, as a nice reminder, because we're not perfect.
No, yeah, for sure. And obviously we're refreshing all of this within ourselves, and that's why we have these. We literally text each other every day. We have all these conversations, voice memos, screenshots, like everything, podcasts, like it just. It's a lot, and it's good to have those kind of friends.
You know what? Yes. I saw my friend Dali. She posted one today, and I just thought of like right now that you're saying that. She's like, my life's not perfect, but thankfully I have a best friend. And girl, yes, that's literally us. Like it's every day. Every day I feel like we're in a struggle because you're trying to balance. You're trying to be a boss. You're trying to be like have a great relationship. You're trying to make money. You know, you're trying to have family time. You're trying to be with the Lord. Like
you're trying to launch a podcast.
You're trying to do it all. You know. I mean, we're in a world where the possibilities are endless. Yeah. So I mean, Get you a friend.
No, for sure. And I was gonna. That's another thing I wanted to talk to, because back to the Luck is for Leprechauns. So I went. I had been with my business. I've been going through a funk, and it's not because I haven't been busy, because I've been closing. It's just like my heart wasn't in it anymore, like it was when I first started. So I'm like, I need to get that back, because for me, this is an everyday thing. Did I just turn off my mic? Oh no. For me, it's an everyday thing, but for these people, this is a big purchase, and some of them have never bought a house or have family that's never bought a house, so it's a big deal to them. And there was a point where I became desensitized, and I took that for granted. So it's kind of like I need to, like I am a big deal, because sometimes people will be like, oh, you're so good, like thank you so much, and I would kind of like, oh no, it's nothing, and I would feel awkward, because I would feel like, oh, like literally it's nothing. But then I went to this conference, a women's conference. And it's like, no, it was a reminder, like, you are something, because these people, they need you. Like,
we don't do well with flattery.
Yeah,
we flatter ourselves, but we don't accept it
in
from
secret.
Like,
you're like, but it's in certain areas, because when it comes to our business, I guess, because I don't have anybody in the business. I'm completely new. I'm learning. It's kind of that imposter syndrome, like, oh, am I doing it right? Or, oh, like, I just happen to be good at it. I just happen to get lucky. And it's like, no, I didn't get lucky. I put in a lot of work at the beginning. I remember.
You put in money.
Yeah, I would door knock. I would call. I embarrassed myself, I'm sure. But it worked for me, And so that's what one of the speakers was saying. It's like, what did she say? Like, you are a big deal, and you have to learn to celebrate yourself and allow that, because these people do need you. They're looking for you. They need your help, And I think ever since that event, like, I just started thinking that, like, no, I do belong here. I am good. Like, these people are calling me for a reason. And then today, like, and that's not the first call. I got another listing. I got a referral from somebody in the industry. She's a credit repair person, and I know she knows a lot of realtors. I know she knows a lot, but she referred her sister to me to help me sell her house, which that to me was like a big, it's like the biggest form of flattery, because this is somebody who knows a ton of realtors, and out of all of them, she sent her sister to you. And so I took that as a huge compliment. And it just, I got chills. It just reminded me of, like, who the fuck I am. Like, hello. Yeah. I didn't get here because of luck, or because I'm blessed. I mean, I am blessed, but just because it just fell in my lap. It was all hard work. And it wasn't just last year, the year before. It's been years of hard work since I was in third grade selling candy on my backpack. Like, it's been years. So it's like, I'm not lucky. I'm blessed. I work for this. I do what I have to do to receive from God. I've always been faithful with my tithes and offerings. If I feel it in my heart to give something to someone, I give it, no questions asked. So it's, and people have made me doubt myself, like, why are you always doing that? Like, oh, te crees mucho. And it's like, no. I just do it out of the kindness of my fucking heart. Like, don't make me ugly, and you have to kind of check those people. Like, that's how you feel, because that's probably your mentality and how you think that you're getting something, but that's not me. But anyway, all of that to go back to say, and that when you do that, it's like you have to. Was it Sarah that said it too? Somebody said it, because I've been doing so much, or it was, I don't know, whatever, maybe another friend. But she's like, you have to. Or was it you? When you have your hand closed, when you're trying to hold on to something, it's like you have your hand closed so you can receive anything. So when you're giving and letting it out, then you have it open to receive more. Oh, it was my Dave Ramsey coach. That's what it was.
And it's so true. One thing that I always will be thankful and I loved about Trinity Church when I was going there is, I think they have a Dave Ramsey class, and one thing that was first was tithing. Yeah. The pastor would always say, I promise if by the end of your class you have not paid off your debt or paid off your house